Okay, let's get started. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Carol Brennan. It's my purpose to help people find their quiet but confident voice so they can fulfill their potential. And I do that through writing. I'm a copywriter for coaches. I help coaches who struggle to sell themselves in their writing. I craft persuasive copy which connects their unique talents with the needs of their target market. Because I often find that coaches are good at talking but struggle when it comes to getting things down in writing. And I can identify with that because I can express myself well in writing but struggle verbally. I know how frustrating it is not to find the right words. Because I struggle to find the right words when talking, and writing is my zone of genius, I'm a perfect match to help clients with the opposite problem to me find the right words in their writing. I live in the Ayrshire coast in Scotland, just in case you were wondering about the accent. And anyone who knows me knows I'm absolutely batty about parrots, and I have a parrot who talks. I'm also writing a book this year called The Travel Experiment, where every month I'll travel to a new place and see the effects it has on my social anxiety. But I don't want to spend the whole webinar talking about me. What about you? So you're a coach or other entrepreneur who provides a service to clients. You know you're a great communicator. When you talk to clients, they sign up to buy your offers on the spot, but somehow that doesn't translate into your writing. You're worried your writing is letting you and your business down. You want to attract more clients with your writing. If that's you, then you're in the right place. Hi, Glenn. Oops, sorry about that. So why is it important to master your written voice? Well, firstly, we focus on human interest. We are naturally interested in other people just as much as what they can do for us. We don't buy from brands, we buy from people, and we buy the human story behind the brand, don't we? If you take an example like Apple, people don't buy from them for the quality of their technology. In fact, there are many companies who make better technology than Apple. The reason they buy into them is the story of doing things differently. This is often referred to as the why behind the brand. Thirdly, when you're choosing to buy from a solopreneur, the reason you choose provider A over provider B often isn't because provider A's service is any better than provider B, but because you gel better with provider A. This is especially true when you think about services like coaching, where you're working closely with the coach. And it's important to get along with them. Fourthly, being yourself is the quickest way to build a following. Yes, you might attract some haters along the way, but remember they aren't your ideal clients. Trying to appeal to everyone means you end up appealing to no one. You only need a proportion of all the people out there to get your message to have a successful business. Fifth, by not being yourself, you'll burn out. If you're constantly having to change personalities depending on who you are, you'll burn out and your messaging won't be consistent or gather momentum. It's far easier and authentic to be yourself, isn't it? Yes, definitely better to find people that love you, Tash. So now we know we should try and find our written voice. So why is it so difficult? Well, firstly, it takes practice. If you aren't a consistent writer, then you'll find it difficult to find your written voice. Some people say just write like you speak, but we speak differently to how we write, don't we? When we are writing, we use more formal word choice and less filler words. We write incomplete sentences. If you aren't writing consistently, then you're missing out on opportunities to develop your written voice. Secondly, in our schooling and in the corporate world, we are trained to write in a different way to how you would when you want to write to express your personality. The nature of what we write is very different. For example, reports as opposed to blog posts. The audience we write for is a captive audience of your boss, teachers, and peers who have to listen to you. But as an entrepreneur, there is no obligation. Your potential clients can easily tune out if what you're writing doesn't grab their attention. So you need to capture their attention quickly. Thirdly, when you're writing for your business, you're always rushing because there are 1,000,001 other things to do. Writing is generally not a direct income generating task unless you're a writer. In a coaching practice, time with clients will take precedence over writing, so you'll never get the chance to develop your skills in it. So, what is a writing voice? Yes. Thanks for that comment, Tash. So what is a writing voice? A voice is the personality, style, or point of view of a particular piece of work. Two people can tell the same story, but it can be written from very different points of view, can't it? In music, two musicians can interpret the same music very differently just by the tone of their voice, the musical accompaniment, and how the piece is arranged. The same is true in writing. For example, The Guardian and The People might report the same story, but will do it in a very different way. What distinguishes one writing voice from another? First, there is tone. Tone is the attitude of the writer towards a subject or audience. Each piece of writing has a central theme and subject. The way a writer approaches that theme and subject is the tone. This may be formal or informal, happy or sad, comic or serious, or other values. Consider the difference between, "Hi Sarah, how's it going? Was everything okay at work?" and "Good evening Sarah, how are you? How was your day at the office?" The tone is different, isn't it? In the first sentence, the tone is informal. In the second, it is more formal. Tone decides how your audience will read a particular piece and how they will feel while they are reading it. It will determine their overall impression of the piece and whether they interpret it to be comical or serious, formal or informal. The medium, that is, the type of writing, also influences the voice. Not every strategy works for every type of business. Some businesses will naturally lend themselves to writing. Other types of businesses might do better with a podcast or video. If you aren't getting traction with one medium, try another. The right medium can mean the difference between a business that struggles to convey its message and one that communicates what it is and why it matters. So there are 3 elements that influence your voice. The biggest part, 60%, is you. Your personality will naturally shine through your writing. So if you're naturally funny, that will show up in your writing. Think about your personality. How do you want to come across? How do you communicate with people in your life outside of your writing, outside of your business? Your industry also has a 20% share in what influences your voice. So if you're a lawyer, your writing is going to be much more formal than someone who offers past life healing, isn't it? Think about your industry and how others in your industry communicate. How do you want to stand out from the competition? Your audience also determines a 20% share of your voice. If you're marketing to an audience of teenagers, your messaging will be different from someone marketing to an audience of medical professionals. Think about how familiar your audience will be with the subject area you're talking about. So now we know what makes up the voice. But how do we determine what you want to say? Here are some questions you can free write on. What is the message you want to share with the world? This is what distinguishes your business from all the other voices out there. What is your business trying to achieve in the world? Why is it significant? This is why people should listen to you. If you only got one session with your ideal client, what would you tell her? This is your core, your message at its core. What legacy do you want your business to leave behind? This is how your business contributes to the wider world. So now we've sorted out what you want to say, let's have a look at how your industry influences your voice. So first we have buzzwords and technical language. If everyone in your industry uses certain words, then you'll want to use them too. But remember, you are writing for your audience, not other professionals in your industry. Before you use a word, you need to be reasonably confident that your audience will understand the message you're trying to convey, because a confused mind doesn't buy anything. Secondly, your industry determines the type of language you use and whether it is formal, informal, or semi-formal. Think about the types of language that your competitors use as a baseline. Thirdly, your industry determines the types of content you will produce. Some industries lend themselves more to video, for example. But when you are thinking about producing content, also consider your personality. You're more likely to stick to a content strategy if you're using a medium you're comfortable with, aren't you? Next, we move on to determine what your audience needs your voice to be. Look at competitors and be aware of what they do that you like and what they do you don't like. For example, you might be a business coach who admires Derek Halpern. You might like his direct use of language but hate the way he polarizes people with his opinions. So you decide to try and emulate this in your own writing, but with your own more conservative opinions. Indeed, taking someone else's voice and combining it with your own is how you create your own style. When thinking about what your audience needs, also consider comments. Think blog comments and discussion boards. Look at what themes keep coming up and use them to spark ideas. You're not copying someone else's work, more using comments as a jumping off point to spark your own ideas. One excellent way to find ideas is to look at Amazon book reviews. Consider any comments that say what the book did not cover and use them in your own content strategy. Building your content strategy on comments is a great way to ensure your content resonates with your audience. And that's what we all want, isn't it? Also consider surveys. If you have a large audience, then by all means survey them. But remember, you don't have to rely on your own data. You can also search for surveys conducted by others. Surveys are a great way to determine what a highly interested audience thinks about a subject. Finally, consider social media. When you post on social media, what engages your audience? Social media can be a great indication of user interest that helps you generate ideas. Searching under hashtags provides vital information on pressing needs that you can turn into specific targeted topic areas. Also look at brand pages. Brands engage with their audience at a very deep level and spark comments where users demand something that you can use to turn into specific targeted content. Sorry, I'm just going to take a drink of water. Okay, so let's look at some exercises you can use to find your written voice. The first one is to make a list of adjectives that describe you. Use an online thesaurus if you get stuck. How would you describe yourself to someone else? How would your best friend describe you? Then narrow that list down to the top 3 qualities that you would like your writing to convey. Before you hit publish on your content, ask yourself if your content reflects your list of personality qualities. If not, what can you do to change? If not, what changes can you make so your writing sounds more like you? Secondly, you can free write. It doesn't have to be about your business. Yes, Anna, you'll get a copy of this recording, so you can get everything down, and I can also make the slides available. Okay, so you can free write. It doesn't have to be about your business, just whatever comes to mind. The objective isn't to produce a polished piece of content that you can publish, rather to get all your thoughts down in paper. You can do a timed exercise where you write on a topic for 20 minutes. Another method is the morning pages made famous by the author Julia Cameron, where every morning you write 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing. The great thing about this is it gives you regular practice in writing, which is essential for developing a unique writing voice. Yes, the morning pages are great, aren't they? I used to do them every morning. Thirdly, you can write to your ideal client. First, be clear on who it actually is. Write a character profile for them. What's their name? What age are they? Where do they live? What do they do for a living? Do they have a family? What are their hobbies? What are they passionate about? Now write a love letter to them. You might want to thank them for coming into your life and describe all the adventures you're going to have together. Remember to address all your content to this one person. Content that's for everyone is really for no one. Yes, the morning pages, I used to do them in the afternoon, Marissa, and they're really great. Just get all those different thoughts in your head out. Yes, Tash, writing love letters to your clients is so much fun, and it's also good from the point of view of your written voice. It gets it all down, and it helps you to target your content to the one ideal reader. you don't actually send it to them, Marissa. You're just visualizing. It's a tool to sort of um, visualize your ideal reader. But what you could do if you wanted to is make it into a newsletter. Some people start their newsletters with a love letter to their clients. So you could do that if you wanted. Okay. So no matter what your voice, there are some tips you can use to ensure it's strong. Be concise. No matter what your style, no one has the time to listen to someone who goes off at tangents, especially in the fast-paced online world. Don't just talk at your reader, talk with them. Involve them in a conversation. A great way to do this is by asking questions. Questions create engagement, don't they? Use emotional language. Use sensory and emotional words to paint a picture in your ideal reader's mind. Capture her attention. Next, find your rhythm. Mix up long sentences and short sentences to avoid sounding dull. Use one sentence paragraphs to emphasize points. Share stories about your life. Share challenges in your life and business. Readers love hearing about failures, not because they want to hear about your epic screw-ups, because they show that other people make mistakes and everyone has to start somewhere. Sharing what lessons you learned is invaluable because readers will learn how to avoid making the same mistakes. If you're worried about sharing something too personal, ask yourself these 3 questions. Is what I'm sharing relevant and valuable for the reader? Would I be happy for my granny to read it? Remember, once it's on the internet, it's not private anymore. Have I slept on it? I'm a night person and often have lots of ideas at night. At the time, I think my ideas are truly inspired, and some are, but sleeping on them allows me to look at them with a bit more perspective. Write about what you love. Have you ever seen someone light up when they're talking about something they love? That's what you want to do with your reader when they read your writing. Remember to make a human connection. Connecting your passion, your writing with a passion or hobby will allow you to stand out and make what you say unique. It can be something simple that reflects you and your personality. You don't need to create a totally new concept. Just do one thing differently to make your writing memorable. Practice makes progress. The only way to improve your writing is to practice. Schedule time to work on your writing. Regular and often is the key. Finally, get feedback. Feedback will ensure your voice resonates with your ideal client. Yes, Marissa, it's a great idea. And as I say, maybe try out that if you like the idea of writing a love letter to your ideal clients in your newsletter. So now you've got some strategies for finding your written voice and translating your personality onto paper. Thanks so much for joining me for mastering your written voice. So if you have any questions, I'd love you to put them in the chat box. And while you're doing that, I'd like to tell you about a service I offer. Oh, thank you, Anna. It's a feedback session, and remember that's one of my pointers for writing in a strong voice. I think I mentioned that. I'm a bit nervous, so I don't know if I mentioned that or not. You get a feedback from a professional writer on your written voice. This includes a 30-minute interview so I can pick your brains on you and your audience. Then I'll analyse a piece of your writing to make sure it reflects your personality and resonates with your audience. This offer is great if you enjoy writing, but you're just not sure your writing is connecting with your audience and getting them excited about your work. This offer is available at a special discounted rate of $97. This offer is a super affordable way to access review services. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat box. Oops, sorry, that's my oops. Sorry about that. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Sorry, it keeps going off like this. Go ahead, Tash. And you can also send me an email. My email address is on the slide. Yes, it does make it easier if the client has practiced their written voice. One good idea is to get as much, get recording them speaking and get them to do some writing, so it does make a difference. Thanks for that question. Another question I got was about brainstorming ideas to share. So one thing you can do is just write particular themes. So for example, screw-up stories are good, and that's what I talked about in the presentation. So you can brainstorm themes. Another question I got was whether if somebody's a good speaker, it can really be translated into the written word. And what you can do there is record yourself and capture the expressions that you use. How do you decide on what topics to write about? Well, I just covered that on themes. If you think about different screw-up stories, for example, so you just brainstorm different themes like screw-up stories, hobbies, and things like that. Any more questions? I would say that, so Tash has asked a question, should you write blogs the same way as you write Facebook posts, or are they more formal? Well, what I do is I turn my Facebook posts into blogs, but I would add an introduction and a bit more background there. I think they are a bit more formal, yes, because of the way people read on screen when they're reading a blog. Yes, and if you're interested in the review, it's carol@inspiredbusinessideas.com. Thanks, Glenn. Oh, before I stop, I forgot to announce the winner of the prize draw. Thanks, Anna. So that was Linda. Is it Urson? So Linda's won the free copyright review. So congratulations to Linda. Thanks for all your comments. So if there are no more questions, we'll just close it up there then.